Yeah, my mom shared it. Oh,
And it's official now. We're live.
what's
We
up?
have we have the most out of line player in Tampa today, Joshua Nicholson. What's up, Josh? How you feeling today?
Doing good, brother. How are you?
Good, good. We got a loaded episode here. I didn't know you're that popular online. The comments, the way out of line comments. Yeah, you went viral, sir. Most people get like one or two comments. Some people got no comments. We'll address all the comments later on.
Well,
But
I'll tell you one thing. One thing that's been true my whole life is almost no one feels neutral about me. So that wasn't surprising.
oh, you're polarizing. I didn't know that. To me, you're always super
Yeah,
nice. A
I'm
little
quiet
out
and
of
nice at the poker table, but my friends and family would be shocked to hear that.
damn. Okay, we're gonna learn about that persona today then. Let's see if we're live on Facebook. Want to make sure it's public. Edit privacy. Yeah, we're live. It's official now.
Cool.
Okay, let's fire up the questions. I don't know if we can call you TGT King because you crushed, man. How do you even do that? Was it three events?
Yeah, three. Well, two and a half because one of them was the tag team. My buddy Jay helped me take that one home, so I can't take credit for three. But yeah, two and a half. It was obviously that's you're running way above EV if you take home three trophies in one series. So just happy to be a part of it. It was fun.
See, at least you acknowledge this. Some
Oh,
people,
sure.
when things are going your way, some people think that they're doing something extraordinary or but I mean, of course, you stand out as a player in TG, not just TGT in Tampa. You're hard to play against for sure. Yeah, I've always admired your game and respected your game.
Appreciate
Uh,
it. Same.
Evan, by the way, Evan is bringing it too. Like he's doing good in the league, and he's tough to play against too. I didn't know him before the league. You've known him before?
No, I didn't know him before the league either. Yeah,
Okay.
he and I actually I got over to Derby early a couple weeks ago, and we played some 1-3 together. And it was a typical experience of me playing poker. He was like, "Dude, you're in all the biggest hands." I was like, "Always," and it is an absolute roller coaster. He saw me, I mean, stacks were in 3 or 4 times in 2 hours, but that's why I don't play cash that often because 300 big blinds deep, I'm a little lost.
You know what? I'm the same way. I don't enjoy cash. I know I can be profitable, and people always tell me like, "Oh, if you're good in tournaments, you'll be good in cash." I just enjoy tournaments more. Like put
Same.
me in a tournament. I've said it a million times. I'm focused, start to finish. I'm like at 100% focus. In a cash game, it just doesn't keep my interest for that long. I want to be in and out in a cash game, 1 or 2
Yeah,
hours out.
yeah. There's a couple reasons for me. Like cash games, I've always struggled with the whole culture of cash games. I don't enjoy. So like the bum hunting, the table selection, the coddling of the whales, I don't like any of that. You know, the thing I love about tournaments is you and I are going to be locked in a cage, and one of us has to die. You know what I mean?
You
It,
know
and
what?
it,
I've never heard it broken down like this, and this makes so much sense. What you said, the factors like table hunting, and I see the regs in Hard Rock, they're like sharks walking in between tables,
yeah,
trying to see where the fish are, and moving table to table. They're miserable. Yeah, I don't like that at all. In tournaments, you don't have that luxury of table selecting, or
no, you
you
might.
don't
I
even.
mean, you might end up at a table. I remember one quick story. I was down in Hollywood a couple of years ago, and I ran into a guy, and he's like, "What are you playing?" I told him what I was playing. He's like, "Why are you playing that?" He's like, "You need to be playing the 2200 with me." And I was like, "I don't know about that." You know, I was just starting to put in some volume and wasn't really confident yet. And he hyped me up so much that I went up I went up to my room, I grabbed some cash, I come back down, I buy into the 2200, and I sit down at my table, and it's Faraz, Alex Queen. I can't. I can't remember the other kid's name, but he's a crusher, and maybe Dylan Lindy, all at my table. We're 8-handed, and there's 4 absolute crushers. And within 5 minutes, I'm out aces versus kings all in pre-flop. And I was like, whoa, what a waste of time that was.
Who was the
But
guy?
yeah,
Do we know the guy?
no, it was the guy that busted me was definitely a recreational player.
Not the guy that busted you. The guy that said you should jump in a 2200.
It was Phil.
Gavin?
Phil, no, Phil with the dreads.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. I haven't seen him in a while.
No, I
Last
haven't.
night,
I haven't seen him either.
yeah, he was grinding everything at one
Yeah.
point. Okay. What? This is the first question. What's the spot you think most local grinders in Florida are massively misplaying right now?
That's a tough one. I think there's probably a lot. The one I think I see the most is there's still a lot of guys out there that are just c betting 100%, and I think that I think it's a lazy leak. Like they just go into autopilot and board textures that make no sense for them. They're c betting, they're getting check raised, they have to fold, and I don't know. I just think those days are gone. That's kind of like what would you say, like 2015-ish strategy?
7 to 07 to like 14, 15. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of people that are doing it though, and a board that just smacks the big blind flatting range, they're just c betting and then basically just punting. An extra couple of big blinds there that they could have easily just checked back and reassessed the turn.
Yeah, I see it sometimes from players that are like capable, and
Yeah.
like you said, the board will be like 4, 6, 7 flush draw versus the big blind, and they c bet like a weird size, and I'm looking at like, what is this guy doing? Who I liked. We made final table with Ross Corliss that last the little slick, and the guy that's getting out of line is Grant Misonis. Shout out to Grant. He does some weird stuff on the flop, and I think it's working for him just because of that factor that you said that people are c-betting 100. He clicks it back on the flop. Like I noticed, I sit with somebody for like 20-30 minutes and I can figure out what they're about, what their general strategy. Not everything, but I can get an idea of what they're doing. So he did it to Ross, like flop, and it wasn't like a favorable flop for his range. He was big blind. Ross opens +1. We were down to like 6-handed or 5-handed, and he clicks it back on a king high board. It was like king 6-3 rainbow, check bet. He clicks it back right away and does it fast. And Ross floated flop, and then Grant slowed down on the turn. So you know what he's up to. Like he just clicked it back with no equity basically. And then Ross asked him, he's like, "Are you like bluffing on the flop?" Like he couldn't understand what happened. Like why check raise flop and then slow down on the turn. But I guess it's working with him versus Fish. Ross is capable. Ross, he sits down, he acts like he's drinking and having fun, doesn't stop talking, but he has like thousands of hours of experience.
Oh yeah, no, Ross is a great player, and he is drinking and he is having fun and is still capable, which is scary.
Yeah.
There's some players, like I can think of one. I won't put him on blast right now, but I told him recently, I was like, dude, if you stop smoking on every break, imagine how great at poker you would be. And he was like, I don't know how to play without it. And I was like, there's no way it helps you.
It gives some edge to some players. They can't play without it. I ask people, what does it do for you? And I've never gotten a good answer. Do you know the answer? What does
I can't imagine there's a good thing that it does, because if anything, it's dulling all your edges, I would think. But it seems to work for this guy, and but I've told him multiple times, like, dude, stop, like while you're playing, stop. And he was like, it calms me down. I'm like, okay. I mean,
there you go. Okay, that's an advantage. Being calm, you make better decisions. Sure. So why is it in the WSOP when we go on break, all you smell, like you get high just from the whiff of weed? Everybody's smoking weed. Some people are doing mushrooms, some people do uppers, some people do downers. But like weed, I've always asked people, and I've never gotten a Straight answer. Like I take some supplements, and I can tell you exactly what they do for me. Like ashwagandha, for example, is one of them. It calms you down. You're like you. It's easier to get in that flow state if you're taking ashwagandha, like before a session. I know some people that take gummies.
I've got you. You're frozen for me right now. I don't know if you can still hear me. You there, Carl? I don't know if anybody's watching right now, but sorry, I cannot see. Well, I can see Carl, but he's frozen. Oh, there he goes. Stand by. He's probably restarting the stream. He told me earlier he's been having some technical difficulties, and when this happens, he just kind of restarts everything and hops back on. So, apologize to everyone who's just having to stare at my face right now. There he is. He's messaging me. And he's logging back in. Stand by. I just pulled up the stream to see if I am indeed just standing here by myself, and I am. So Carl should be back on here shortly, folks.
Josh, can you hear me?
There he is.
I can't hear you. I'm having major technical issues over here. Give me 1 second. 1 second. It kicked me out of everything. Mic, okay, speaker. Try to talk now.
Hey.
Still can't hear you. Talk now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. It closed down all my apps. My computer's acting up in a major fashion, and I don't know why. Anyway, let's continue. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, we were talking about Ross getting out of line and ashwagandha and weed. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I asked ChatGPT last time, what's a good supplement to get you in the flow state? And it gave me a supplement called Brain Fuel. I looked it up on Amazon. It was like $70 or $80. They have a bunch of like lion's mane and all stuff like to focus. What's your recipe for to bring your A game?
So I'm actually, this will be shocking for some people because of how large I am. I'm a big faster while I play. I do not like to eat. If I'm playing a big tournament, it is not rare for me to, like, maybe I'll get a snack before I leave the house, but then I'll play 14 hours without eating anything. It's black coffee and room temp waters. That's it. And I have a bit of a nicotine problem, so Zens as well. But I think that they help me cognitively, but who knows? It could just
Nicotine
be
definitely helps cognitive. When you say nicotine, how, in what form?
Zens, like a pouch.
Pouch. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
You know what? One time, Clive took one in the league and it put him on his ass. Like he was out of it.
Yeah,
Stomach.
definitely one of those things that if you don't have a tolerance for it, it affects people big time.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not prepare somebody like this? Like the guy that gave it to him, he's like, "Oh no, no, this is mild." Well, I mean, it's mild for you, but like
Right.
if I'm taking something and I have tolerance to it, but I know if somebody new took it, it will mess them up. I would prepare him like, "Hey, okay, take this, but be careful. It's gonna do, you're gonna have some side effects." The guy didn't prepare him. He gave it to him, and he could not play the remnants of the league. He was
Oh,
on his ass, like couldn't focus, couldn't talk. Yeah, I mean, we even have jokes about it now.
yeah. No, for me, caffeine and nicotine in an empty stomach is like my recipe for getting into flow state. And when I am locked in, like I legitimately forget about food. Like it's a really weird thing. So obviously, when I'm not locked in and I'm not playing cards, I enjoy food.
You know what? Ever since I had the podcast with Justin Fawcett, shout out to the beast Justin. He mentioned that he fasts the whole time, which is not easy for some people. Like I see people
Yeah.
munching, they play a couple hours, they start eating on breaks and stuff. I do it now, zero food, just breakfast, a little cardio if I can, get a session in like 20-30 minutes on the bike or something. And I don't know why, it makes you less excited in big spots doing cardio, getting that energy out
Yeah.
before, prior to the session. In session, you're calm. Being calm, you're just going to make better decisions. You
Well, I
see,
mean, there's a reason why large cultures all around the world have a nap after lunch, right? And so, like,
siesta. Yeah, yeah, siesta in
yeah,
Europe.
I
They
mean,
close down shop. Yeah.
yeah. So if eating naturally is going to make you want to wind down, why would you be eating when you need to be locked in? But for some people, like you said, they get irritable or like they get hangry if they haven't had any food. I don't. It doesn't have that effect on me. I just have more reserves than most people, I guess.
You're right. It makes. I used to get like that because I was expecting to eat and it would make me hangry, but not anymore. Cardo Shark. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
He says water, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, meditation. Definitely meditation helps, man. I want to learn yoga. You know who I saw doing yoga last time and I was impressed because he's really efficient at it? They used to call him Bird. He plays on the lodge stream. He's from Tampa, Templeton, John Templeton. Like
Oh,
shout
I
out.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know him.
He grinded before you came to the scene. He was back. He grinded like back in 15, 16, back in those days, and he crushed. But he plays on the lodge and he crushes up there. T1000, his
Oh, yeah,
handle.
yeah, yeah. I didn't know he was from here.
T1000. He was doing on his story. He posted it, and he's very good at it.
Hmm.
So he said meditation, light workouts throughout the week, favorite music for short. Lately music. I just put the music on, hat down, and I'm locked in lately. A smell that brings you to your childhood, that brings you back. Well said. I wish we
Yeah,
could
I'm.
Carter
If
Shark it.
if someone at the table starts irritating me, I definitely throw the AirPods in and we'll start to listen to something that's going to calm me down.
You know what? Yesterday at Derby, I was playing and I made a deep run, and the table would not stop talking, and they want to include me in every topic. Like, hey, I'm okay for a little chatter when I sit down at the table, but I'm that guy. I'm gonna be quiet. Last this weekend, a server that works with my girlfriend, she told her, she's like, because I ordered, we of course playing with Ross, you got to order drinks. So I told him if we make final table, we're gonna let the Patron flow. He's like, no, 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 not Patron, not Patron, because he was drinking all day. I just started drinking, so I'm like, okay, we'll do beer. So I ordered from the server, and the server told my girlfriend, she's like, this is the first time I hear him talk. Because they think I don't have a personality when I'm playing, and I don't
Yeah,
care what they think. I'm there locked in. If I can't multitask. Some people like Ross, full conversation, jokes. He'll tell you about golf, this and that, and he's still playing good. I can't do it. I'm either locked in here or I'm talking. One or the other. I can't do
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
Um,
Mine. I'm entirely mood dependent on that. It really depends on who's at the table, how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'm chatting it up. Sometimes sunglasses on, AirPods in, hat down. Like I want to look unapproachable because I'm not in the mood to talk.
yeah, and I mean, for recreationals, like at TGT, it's very like friendly vibe,
Yeah,
family kind of. Everybody knows everybody, and if you do that, they think you're an asshole. No, no, bro.
yeah,
I'm just trying to make money. Like I
right.
don't do this. I don't win here. Bills aren't paid. I've never seen you wear glasses, by the way. Do you wear sunglasses?
Last time we played together, I had sunglasses on. It ended poorly for me. I had to take them off with my glasses on and go drive home.
We need to talk about this very out of line hand for sure. And you said it's a compliment for you, and it was a compliment for you. I
Yeah,
would not do that. I would not pull that move against recreational at TGT, but we'll talk about this hand. KNN said, I disagree. Disagree with what, KNN? Carter Shark said, I agree, yet preparation for this long term, but not during game or right before. True. I mean, right before, we're talking like little cardio, 30 minutes or an hour before it gets me in the zone. But so you said glasses, you're locked in. Are you a chatterbox? I've never seen you like, I mean, I've seen you talk to people, but you're not like talking constantly.
no, yeah. I mean, in day to day life, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that wish I would shut up more. But when I'm playing poker, typically I'm not talking as much as some others. But a lot of that just has to do with the fact that if I'm locked in, I'm actually watching everything everybody's doing, and so I don't have time to just talk about the weather with my neighbor, because that's what sets you apart, right? Is that like if you're watching every single thing, hands that you're not involved in, and you're paying attention, then like that's how you make that jump from like maybe a break even or a losing player to someone who's actually winning with some regularity, is being able to actually pay attention the whole day, which is hard to do. It takes a ton of energy.
It is draining. Like you said, it's like I'm watching poker on TV. I'm watching everything. I'm looking at the sizing. I'm trying to pick up tells, but you can't do it for the whole session because, like you said, it's draining. Like
Yeah.
you can do it for when you're locked in the beginning, when you're fresh still, but you can't do it the whole time because it's too much work. Let's talk about the out of line hand.
Sure.
TGT main event day one. We're trying to bag. I come and sit at your table. I think you were like seat 2 or 3, and I'm to your left. And I think you open middle position, low jack. I'm in the cutoff or button, and I 3-bet. I'm not gonna say my hand. I 3-bet, and you 4-bet jam.
I'll give you the setup.
Yeah,
I was
send
cut.
it.
I was cut off. You were small blind.
No, no, no. I was in position, 100%. You know what? No, you were late position. I was early position. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
I don't remember hands very well, but I remember this one simply because I was, you had mentioned to me a couple times, like, come on the podcast. And I was like, that'll be a fun one to talk about because for me, like, in the moment, annoying. But like I said, when we were texting, also a compliment. So, yeah, go ahead.
Um, I normally don't 3-bet that hand, but because I'm out of position and you opened late, so it falls in the 3-bet category.
Absolutely.
I had eights. I 3-bet, and we're both deep. I forgot this how deep we were, but that tournament plays so well. It's a 100K starting stack. I think the blinds were. I came like level 4 maybe, so the blinds were maybe 2K, so 50 blinds deep. Maybe you're deeper because you've been there. No, actually, I cover you.
Yeah, you cover. I think you're a little north of 50, and I'm off of 28.
Okay, so I 3-bet, you 4-bet all in, and I go in the tank. I remember who was sitting at my table. Oh, Clive Gavin. Shout out to the G.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clive.
There.
He was at my table to my left, and he watched the whole scenery, the whole debacle go down. So you 4-bet all in, and I go in the tank. Here, a couple things are going through my mind. I never have that range crushed ever. At best, you have ace king. all the pocket pairs, or you're not doing that with like sevens, sixes, ace king, ace queen sometimes, and you have some four bet bluffs. Like
Sure.
anybody else, any regular at TGT, four bet, I run, leave the building because it's aces or kings, nothing
Yeah.
else. You, because I know you get out of line, you have some ace five suited, you have some suited Broadway
Yeah.
sometimes, not that often. It's not like you're getting too out of line, but you have some bluffs. That's the reason I put in the call. Of course, you show me the bad news. King, king. We binkinate in the window. So that's the only reason I called the four bet. And yeah, that's about it. I have
Yeah.
nothing
No,
else.
that's yeah. I take that as a compliment. I had shown a really out of line bluff about 10 minutes before that, and
I
I
wasn't there to see it though. To
no,
your
you were there because I remember you. I remember thinking Carl probably thought that was really dumb, um, and when I show those, I always feel bad about showing bluffs because it feels like you're showing up the person that you bluffed. But for me, I'm trying to earn that call later, right?
uh-huh.
I'm trying to make it to where you have no choice but to pay me when I have the goods. And so I don't know if you remember the hand. I can't remember I'm really bad with names. Really nice older gentleman. He plays in the league sometimes. He was in seat
Bill?
one. Is
Bill
it Bill?
McPhillips?
No, no, not Billy. Anyways, he was in seat one. Monotone board.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. He's in there battling. Like he's
Oh yeah.
not shy to put chips in the pot.
Yeah. It
I
was a
know who you're
really
talking
we can talk about that hand later. You know, you might have a question that'll bring it up. But I had shown that bluff, and when a lot of times I might flat in position kings against your three bet. But in that situation, I had convinced myself that you can you can call light because you know I'm capable of some of those hands that you mentioned, and it worked perfectly. But you know, that's poker.
No, you set me up perfect. Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say something. Cardo Shark says he's in the zone. I think Cardo Shark knows you. Um, and then he said, online, I only play one game at a time so I can optimize my play while paying attention to every detail. Yeah, well said. That could be Steven Boomhauer. He's playing the long game. He sure is. Tell us, like, what made you crush the series at TGT? Let me show some of the pictures. One trophy, then the next week we thought it's rigged for a little bit. What's going on there? How did you? I
Well,
always say it. Even playing against the worst players in the world, like
yeah, you got to run good in the. I mean, you got to win flips, right? I mean,
it's more than that. You know, we both know it's more than that. Of course,
yeah.
you got to win flips, but you're doing something.
Well, I mean, some of those fields that I won were softer fields, and so
You're humble. You're humble.
I mean the million those million little spots where you can pick up small pots with semi bluffs and things like that, they just get through way more in softer fields than they do in tougher fields, and so you're able to accumulate. And then if you have any kind of idea of how to play at a final table, you can force people to make some really big mistakes. And I think for me, that's one of my strongest suits is when I get to a final table. Um, I'm almost able to annoy people into like really, really bad calls. And you know, it's the old there's no way he has it. And they've seen me bluff. They've seen me get out of line, and so I just capitalize on those moments. And obviously, I didn't. I never got in all in at risk and lost the
Mm-hmm.
flip. I mean, that's going to happen, right? And so in those particular tournaments, I just ran well and played pretty well. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of secret to it. I think at the end of the day, you and I both know if you're playing against a lot of bad regs or recreational players, this game is not incredibly hard to get good at. I don't think at
I mean,
those stakes.
of course, like I said before, your edge at TGT is huge. But then again, navigating that field, because you have to switch gears because they ramp up variance and every hand goes multi-way. So there's a lot of adjustments to be made.
Sure.
So navigating that field is definitely not easy.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see me in those fields doing things you'd never see me do in a tougher field. Like you kind of have to adjust open sizes at TGT. Like
How much you're opening pre-standard?
standard, like before reg closes, I'm typically like a 2.5 person. Post registration, it's minimum. But at TGT, you might see me open in like 4x early because it's really hard to find that inflection point to where you're not playing 5 ways post flop every hand.
Man, I see people open like 3x when the blinds are like, pre-registration, when the registration is open. And then it gets later when the blinds are like high, like let's say level, I don't know, 21, 22, when the blinds get like to 25K or 20K and the stacks are shallow, they start opening like 5x. So what changed? Wow. Why were you doing 2.5 to 3x early on and now you're doing 5x? Like, I don't know. And the people that go in the tank to try to size up based on their hand. They go in the tank not facing aggression, and they start thinking and the grabbing chips and trying to. I'm like, what are you doing? Like the opening should be standard size pre-flop. We
Yeah,
don't size based on the strength of our hand.
yeah, that's probably the only place that I am like actually balanced is I'm not going to adjust my opening size based on my holding ever.
Look at this team. That's a solid team right there. I'm gonna get him on the pod.
Should.
Chris Gaskin.
Chris, yeah.
We out of line. So this is the tag team. You shipped it, and then we have. There it is again, like deja vu. Which event is this one?
Oh, I don't remember. Maybe the little midweek monster stack they did.
This one here. Yeah, monster stack, correct.
Yeah, that one we actually chopped. I didn't win that one outright. We got the final 3 and they gave me almost first place money.
Michael Anderson, Woodrow Pass, the legend.
Yeah, that's kind of my. I mean, people ask about chopping, and for me, I don't play for a living, so, and I really enjoy playing heads up, so I don't like to chop unless it's going to guarantee me a trophy, and it's never less than ICM.
Here he is again. Deuces. Why deuces? You won the event with deuces?
No, so if you were to, I guess, Google me and find whatever winners photos I have on the internet, it's always that hand, and it's a weird story. It's my wife's favorite number. We got married on the 22nd, and so just an homage to the wife.
Homage. That's a good one.
That one was fun. We got to play heads up in that one, and then heads up in the tag team as well. So, good times.
I got a question that applies to me, actually. Have you ever made a technically bad play that you still defend today?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always going to be like a pure exploit, right? I mean,
yes.
I think I can think of one hand in specific. So we were final table of the 400 in the Pinktober, this last Pinktober.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to the final table, and I think I'm third in chips at a 9-handed final table, but I've got Lisi on my direct left as a chip leader. So like ICM nightmare, right? I've got to snug up big time because Lisi's never not going to put you to the test. And I had a hand where it folds to me in the small blind. I open 9s. Lisi defends, and flop comes I don't remember the exact cards. I'm really bad at this, but
you said you opened in the small blind, so it was blind versus blind?
Blind versus blind.
Okay.
Least he calls. It comes, I think, Jack 5-3 rainbow or something like that. I continue. He calls. Turn pairs the bottom pair, so another 3 on the turn. And immediately in my mind, I go, okay, he's got a million combos here of straight draws and things like that he can have in his range. He's always going to rep this 3. So I check. He bets big. So then I have to decide, am I calling it off on the river, right? I mean, because he's 100% jamming the river.
You know what? Did you say the board paired on the turn?
It did.
This is Lisi's signature. When the board pairs, he like tried to exploit people and he applies pressure. I've seen it so many times. He
For
would
sure.
pick it back and he wouldn't have it. Like 9 times out of 10, he wouldn't have it. But he likes to apply pressure when the board pairs. But anyway.
Yeah, I check. He bets really big, and I call planning to call any bet on the river that doesn't complete an obvious straight. And river actually came like an overcard, queen maybe, and I check and he jams and I tank call, and he's got a bricked gutter, and I ended up winning that tournament. And I know, like, at almost every stage of that hand after the turn, if you're looking at ICM, I don't know. I'm admittedly not a very studied person. People would consider those mistakes because of the ICM pressure. I should probably be betting and then folding to the jam on the turn instead of check calling.
How many people are left at this point?
We still have 9. So like this is the difference between going third place in chips and finishing in 9th for whatever it would be, like $1,400, or just sticking to my guns and knowing, like, A, is he capable 100%? B, does he have combos that have potentially bricked? He's got a million. C, am I unblocking those combos? Yes. 9s are nowhere near his draw heavy range. And D, if I make this call and I'm right, how much more does this help me win this tournament? And it's massive. And so, sometimes you just have to, sack up and make the call. And if you look like an idiot because he's just got ace-3 there, you look like an idiot and it's fine. You're going home. But
that's the thing. That's what separates you from the average Joe that doesn't make deep runs, that doesn't score big. You're capable of pulling the trigger and you're capable of making big calls in spots like these. This all comes down to heart. Like, I see players scared of pulling the trigger. They don't bluff enough. And scared of making big calls like this with like very light versus people like you and me. You got to sometimes put your foot down and call down. And I make calls sometimes with like ace high and king high. I made some sick calls like the last week or so. And people look at me like, what the fuck is going on? Because their story doesn't make sense. Sometimes the story doesn't.
In this particular situation, like his story makes sense for a 3 and a 3 only, right? Even if he backed into a queen on the river, it doesn't matter because I have aces and kings all day there if I've called the big raise on the turn. And so he's just checking back the queen.
I was setting up a video. Can you walk me back through the hand? So you open small, he defend, the flop comes jack high with it. It was like jack 5-3.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Jack XX low cards. You see bet, he calls. What's your actual hand? 9-9?
9-9, yeah.
9-9. Turn, it pairs the board and it goes check.
No, check big. I
check
it.
He bombs?
Lisi bombs, yeah.
Okay, that's what doesn't make sense. Like, let's say he has a 3 and he wants to get value. Why would he bomb there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a leveling war a lot of times when you have 2 people that are capable. I think in a lot of situations he might be thinking that he's setting up a big river bluff. Like maybe I float him there or something. I'm never floating.
Let's say because your range is not strong enough. Like aces and kings are continuing on the turn. King jack, ace jack are barreling again. When you check turn, you're capped. You don't have jacks. You don't have aces. You don't have kings. So your hand is like a middling pair or a complete whiff like ace high. So if you want to target that range, why would we bomb turn? If you want to get value, half pot, 60% pot, that's considered big. When he bombs like 80, 90%, what is he targeting? Ace high is folding. Of course, kings, aces, those hands are continuing, but those hands would have barreled anyway, turn. So
Yeah,
his line doesn't make sense. So I can see your float there and just continue all the way.
yeah. I could have some details wrong on that, but I can tell you that was one of the more like biggest confidence builders I've ever had playing, because I do respect Lisi's game so much. And a couple days later, it's funny. Joe at the Hard Rock, Italian Joe, the dealer,
Yeah.
great dealer, love that guy.
Yes, best dealer. You know what? I was thinking about having him on yesterday, a
Uh,
couple of days ago. But anyway, yeah, Italian Joe, the goat.
yeah, he comes and finds me at another table, and he asked me, "Did you end up winning the tournament?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "I knew you were going to win that tournament." He was in the box when this hand went down. He said, I knew you were going to win that tournament when you made the call with the nines." He said, "It was one of the best calls I've ever seen." And that meant a lot to me because obviously he's dealt a lot of hands, and like
Yes.
that's max pressure in those situations. But it's kind of what you said. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes you have to make calls that if you're wrong, you're going to look like an absolute idiot. But if you're right, your your ability to win the tournament has just like quadrupled. Because I've
Yes.
now the guy on my left is crippled, who's one of the strongest players at the table. So
Mm-hmm.
he's no longer a worry for me.
Right.
And I'm chip leading, so now I can apply.
Sometimes you even click that call button and you don't even know why you did it. You just this is poker intuition.
Yeah,
And good players have it. You click the button and then you start explaining why I did that, because in real time it's just some things that when the story doesn't make sense. And who said that about me last time? Chris Gaskin. I got sticky in a spot, and he posted a story. He's like, "Oh, Carl called me down because when the story doesn't make sense, he gets sticky." And he's right. Sometimes if I put the story together and it doesn't make sense, we click the call button. It
I made
doesn't
I
mean
made it. I made it onto those stories that night too. I think I remember it was during the TGT series, and Chris. I texted Chris about the hand later. I called him down really light, and I know you're not supposed to do this, but I told him exactly why. Oh, I lost you again. Who is the toughest and why wasn't it Carl? Y'all, Carl's having some massive issues with his technical setup, so we'll wait on him. Scott, what's up, brother? Let me read your question. In your opinion, who is the most confusing put you in a blender player in the series? Who was the toughest and why wasn't it Carl? Carl and I actually didn't get to clash a whole lot during the series. Who's the toughest during the series? It's a good question. Um, I had to deal with Safe a lot during one of the tournaments that I played terribly in. Safe is always going to put you in a blender. Really respect his game as well. Um, hmm,
I'm back.
what's
Having
up?
having the same issue again. Unreal, man.
I was answering Scott's question while you were firing it back up.
Who's Scott? Do you know Scott?
Scott was one of the dealers during the series.
I'm sure I know the face. But anyway, he said, in your opinion, who was the most confusing, put you in the blender player in the series? Who was the toughest and why? Wasn't it Carl?
I told him, I said you and I didn't really clash a whole lot during the series. So,
No, we didn't.
but I had to spend. I sat in almost every seat of a table with Safe because I bricked like 5 bullets in a tournament one day, and there wasn't that many people there, and I just kept getting sat at the same table. And so Safe was putting me in some tough spots. I love Safe's game. He gets more out of line than me. So if anybody thinks I'm the most out of line player in Tampa, I'm
His
not,
game came a long way, and that's why I want to have him on the podcast. But
for
he's
sure.
got a business venture that he's taking care of. He's gonna be next on the pod. I want to pick his brain a little bit. At first, I wasn't impressed when I first played with him. I'll tell the truth. But then I'm like, okay, this guy's working on his game.
For sure.
What makes sense is he's putting the reps online. He plays a lot online, and he must have done some studying. But yeah, the kid is a natural. He's good. He's good.
Yeah, there's some things
Uh,
in poker that you can't teach, and you can kind of see early on, like who if they work at it, it's going to be good. And one of them is what you mentioned earlier. It's just heart. Like some people are able to just go for it. That you can't teach, right? Like
No,
someone who's a timid person is never going to be able to look like someone who looks scary in the eye and triple off. Like they're just never going to do it. Like, and so if you have that, and then you can tighten up your pre-flop ranges and kind of figure out bet sizing, you can be a great player pretty quickly.
you know what? I don't know how to describe the trait, but you can't be like, I don't know why it's, you can't be like too nice. I said it before, too nice in poker, because it requires you to dig to the evil side almost of you to bring it to the table, because you got to do evil things at the table, things that don't make sense. You're gonna put people in the blender, and being too nice doesn't get that out of you.
No, no,
Too
it's
honest almost.
people.
Uh,
Yeah,
in
I think
poker,
people that really like to make other people look dumb are generally going to be tilted towards being a better poker player. Unfortunately, that's one of my worst personality traits. Is I love making people look dumb, and so poker's always been fun for me.
I feel that makes you feel alive at the table when you
It
fuck
does.
with people's minds and you see it in real time. They're bothered after the hand, like I did it. Who did I do it to? It was early position versus blind. I'm in the big blind, and the board came favorable to my range, and I had nothing. I had queen four suited. Flop comes. I didn't have a gutter. I had zero equity. Oh, okay, I did it. Blake Robinson, shout out to Blake, and he said it went to the hand went to showdown. The board was like 6, 7, 8, I think. I had queen deuce. I'm sorry, I had queen deuce suited. 6, 7, 8. We have nothing. It goes check check. Turn pairs the board, the bottom pair 6. I I lead small. He calls off with I knew he had ace high. Like I knew exactly what he had. Yesterday, I knew exactly what people had. And I'm not saying this like you see fish do that. They'll be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I knew you had that after showdown." No, I
right.
literally knew he called me with ace high. River's a queen. I go for like 40% pot for pure value. He calls. I show queen deuce. He's like, "Oh, I knew you didn't have shit." He shows ace jack. But my whole point is, you don't see amateurs taking that line ever. Um, I lost my train of thought there. Your dad said Chris is so lag, his stories never make sense. Damn, but you do get put in some bad spots.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but I disagree. I would not say Chris's lag. I think Chris's pre-flop ranges are pretty on point. Um, I think a lot of people who play, and your dad, whoever you are, I'm not trying to insult you, but a lot of
Who's
people who,
Chris? Who is he talking about?
I think he's talking about Chris Gaskin, because we were just talking about him a couple minutes ago. Uh,
Chris. Okay, Chris Gaskin. His stories never make sense. No, I mean, no, the kid has been work.
yeah,
I've seen a couple of hands with him at the table that I respected. Uh, he needs to hone down his skill a little bit versus fish. He gets out of line too much, like fancy play syndrome sometimes. But overall, I like where his mind is at. He's thinking at a high level, but sometimes doing it versus bad players, they just click the call button just because.
you know,
Uh,
Carl, I
face it,
have
yeah.
I have a bone to pick with fancy play syndrome in general. So I hear people. I think it's overused big time in poker conversations. It is a problem, right? So for me, for a couple of years, I could never make it deep in tournaments because I would bluff myself out of every tournament. So
Same,
I
same.
had to learn to rein it in, right? And so it is a problem. But I see people like overuse that, and I just want to say, like, listen, if you don't have moves, that's fine, but you don't have to try and negate someone else's game because they're doing things that you don't have the heart to do.
You know
Should you
why they do
find
it?
better spots to do it? Yes, but like the people who think anyone who bluffs has fancy play syndrome, they're just bad players.
Sometimes people think that making moves in poker, that's what wins at poker. You got to make moves that are it has to be controlled chaos. It
There's
can't
got
be
to be a
just
reason
chaos.
for it.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have to have the right cards for it. The dynamic has to be correct. So
Sure.
even the bluff has to make sense. You can't just take a hand with zero equity versus somebody that never bluffs and try to click it back or make a play or a fancy play versus them. You're torching chips and punting every time, and
Yeah, I mean, like trying to get a fish to fold top pair is a losing battle. Like you get at some point you have to learn you can't do that anymore.
And you know what? I see coaches coaching this. They'll be like, "Oh, he's got a weak top pair, so we bet big here to attack." You never want to attack top pair. You even never want to attack second pair versus the players we play against. They're never folding
Yeah.
top pair, never folding second pair, unless you're like risking your tournament life. Like you got to put a lot of pressure, and you want to attack give ups. I did it twice yesterday, and I knew exactly where I was at. I had jack high. I bluffed because I'm like, okay, they could have queen high or king high on an ace 10 board, and it was right. I bet I had jack high. The guy shows king X. We were blind versus blind, and that's the only reason I'm bluffing, because I have jack high and at showdown I can't win. And I'm gonna win sometimes because they might have low cards, but I'm like, in case he has king high, like when I went on the tank on the river, deciding whether to pull the trigger or not. I'm like, okay, he can have king high or queen high. Those are the hands I'm attacking. I'm never attacking a pair. A 10 is never folding. Ace, of course, is never folding.
Yeah,
They raise.
the board has to become like sopping wet for you to start attacking top pair.
Yeah.
And if it does, sometimes you see it like it's just like the auto fold because there's a lot of bad players I think expect to lose, and so when the flush comes on the turn or the river, you can over bluff those spots because like they just in their mind they're like anything but a spade, anything but a spade, anything but a spade. So when the spade comes and you don't have it, you're just it's just green light, right? It's
Those
green
guys
light.
are the worst enemies. You don't have to beat them because they beat themselves. And
Absolutely.
yesterday we had a player like this. He was super tilted, came to the table, torch chips. He's that type. Like you said, if any draw completes, attack it and they'll fold it. Oh my God, I'm so unlucky. They
Yeah.
beat themselves. You show up to a poker game with that mentality, thinking you run bad and you're unlucky. You're gonna play bad. You're gonna run bad. They just self-destruct. Scott
Yeah.
said, "I was 14th best traveling dealer. I'm ugly."
Yeah, in those spots, like I just want to galvanize their feelings too. Sorry, brother, I'm just running good.
I'm like, man, this is not your day. When you tell
Yeah,
them this is not your day, they believe it. That it gets in their mind that this is not their day, and they start playing like shit.
yeah.
KNN says you have to be fearless and that has to be cascaded to others at the table. Well said. Card or Shark said alpha mindset on making people look dumb. Scott said, being able to deal to both of you too let me learn a lot while I was down there. Not only how to handle certain spots, but some beats too. Thank you guys for being such amazing players and people. Oh, that's nice of you, Scott. I wish
Very
I could
kind.
know who Scott is, man. I'm sure I know the face, but the name, I can't put it together.
Yeah,
Carter
no,
Sharp, calculated risks. Yes. So you said you're not studied. When you say you're not studied, I mean, like, have you ever looked at a chart? Do you have any pre-flop ranges, any ranges at all, or you just watch poker? Because sometimes, like, okay, some people claim they're not studied. Becker comes to mind. The kid is crushing. He just took his game to the next level, but he watches poker. Like sometimes it's easy to see something and just emulate that.
yeah, for sure. When I say I'm not studied, I mean I haven't spent hours in the lab. I've never even learned how to use a solver. I
Mhm.
downloaded GTO Wizard one time, couldn't figure out how to use it. I think it's because I didn't have the paid version, so like most of it was locked off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been able to pick up concepts pretty quickly. Uh, I feel bad because that's not something I've worked for. That's just a gift. Like that's just God given, right? How
Mhm.
some people maybe are just like incredible athletes, but they don't work at it. That's me when it comes to just strategy and mind games and anything like that. I've just always been able to pick concepts up pretty quickly just by watching people who've done the hard work before me. And so, yeah, I think my pre-flop ranges, they can get a little out of line if it's in the right setting. But I think for the most part, they're they're probably pretty good. I've looked at back when I first started, I looked at push fold charts just because later on in the tournament, I just need to know, like, am I making a massive mistake here? Like, am I jamming 11 big blinds under the gun if we're, 6 off the bubble, or, those kind of things.
Jamming what
Um,
hand?
King, queen, any kind of random hand like that. And so you just start looking at it. But then I started to learn, like, depending, it's super table dependent too, because, like, if you've been at a table for long enough to realize like people are overfolding or people are really sticky, then you adjust your ranges accordingly. So,
A lot of
um,
that stuff is intuitive. Really, like back in the day before solvers, people did, a lot of the things that they did applies today, but there are some new concepts that people did before that's like frowned upon now.
yeah, it's
Um,
funny. I was trying to explain to my wife how much poker has evolved, and I was like, I don't know, maybe the 100th best player in Tampa. I was like, but if you pick me up and put me in Vegas in 1996, I'm the best player in the world. Like,
ooh,
that's how much
that's
poker's
a
evolved.
good concept. I love it. I haven't heard that one before. Yeah, you'll be so ahead of your time.
Yeah, I
You
would
know,
crush, but everyone knows. Everyone knows now. So the game has evolved. It makes it fun because I think anytime anybody gets to a point where they feel like they've got it figured out, they're in a major danger of a huge downswing.
you
Um,
know who comes to mind? And he was at Hard Rock a couple days ago. I was gonna post his picture. Jimmy Farnsworth.
yeah, I haven't seen Jimmy in a long time.
He's like, oh, poker is easy. I'm better than most players. I'm not talking shit. I love Jimmy, but in poker, if you think you have it figured, because the game is so simple. Like you can sit down with Ivy, Helmuth, Negrano, and beat them that day because you're running hot. Your cards, you can't do anything wrong. You're just like flopping the nuts every time, and you beat them. That doesn't mean you're great at poker.
Sure,
Thinking that thinking that you're great at even some spots now, people are so like they take hard stances on certain spots. They're like, oh, this is a slam dunk call, or you should have. There was a buddy of mine posted a hand on Twitter, and he had queens. Okay, I want to know if Carter Shark is actually Steven Boomhauer, if it is, because he was involved in that hand. Andre, Andre. Shout out to
yeah,
Andre,
yeah,
the
yeah.
go the best photographer. He's got the scratch off.
Yeah, get rich or die scratching. Shout out
And
his
all
YouTube channel.
he's got like over 100K subscribers on. I wish we can. It's his channel is
Get rich or die scratching.
Get Rich or Die Scratching.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's one of the things that's probably made me more jealous than anything else. When he was telling me, like, his revenue and how simple of what he is doing, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that?
You know why? Because he doesn't have that much competition. He took
Yeah,
that scratch. Nobody scratch. There are few people. It's not like poker. Like the poker avenue, poker. It's been saturated. The poker market, the vlogging, and the bar is set high. And
for sure.
his with the scratch offs, he hit it big. But anyway, he played a hand. I forgot. Oh, it was a cash game. 1-3 at Derby. Uh, I forgot how the action went, but he opened queens. The guy, or he actually squeezes. There was a bunch of limpers, and Steven told me to put it in the solver. Good luck, putting limps in the solver. You can't put it the actual way it happened. It was a bunch of limps. He wakes up with queens. He squeezes one guy call, goes heads up post flop. Flop is like jack high, two clubs. We don't have the queen of club. He c bet. The guy calls. Turn is a club, brings the flush, and I believe Andre bets again. The guy calls. River is a club, so there's four clubs on board. We don't have the flush. Andre checks, and the guy bombs, goes all in. Andre folds. He goes in the tank and then folds. And the guy shows him 10-8 off, no club. He just had middle pair on the flop. He continued, and no club. He bluffed him off. And then Steven went nuts saying like, oh, this is a mandatory, like we should have bet river. Like, how do you check there? I'm like, okay, if queens go from a value hand, we don't have a value hand anymore. It's a bluff. Are we bluffing? Or are you value betting? Like he's like, yeah, but a block bet would accomplish. So I don't mind you can block bet there. If you get raised, you fold. But like, what are you trying to accomplish? Is this a value? Is it bluff? Which one is it? He didn't specify which one is it. He just adamant that it's 100%. I said, trust me, if we put it in the solver is checking 100% of the time. He's like, yeah, but if we know that villain is capable of bluffing, well, we don't know that villain is capable of bluffing.
Right.
Happens that he took that spot and bluffed it off and it worked. But people take, they see the result and they backtrack what you should have done, but they see the result. I told Andre that's like knowing the lotto numbers, and then you'd be like, everybody would win if I knew them before the fact. That's the thing in poker. You're making decisions in real time, and most people, this spot is somewhat under bluffed from amateurs. Like someone like Lisi would put you in a spot like this, but an average player at the Derby is gonna click it back and check it back when the flush completes. But my
Yeah.
whole point is about people taking hard stances in spots.
Oh,
Like, don't.
the Kristen Fox and King's hand, like people lost their minds over that, and I'm looking at it and I'm like applauding her fold because I think in a vacuum it's probably pretty good with the ICM pressure she was facing.
Yes,
Was she
and it's
wrong? Yeah.
Fox. I mentioned it last time. It's Kristen Fox, and you have a guy that has like 5K on Hindenmob, like butchering her on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah.
All these guys, will never make it in poker talking shit about Kristen Fox.
Like, oh, it's such an easy call. Like she, like the guy you've got the guy that flats, and then someone jams. Like you got under the gun jam, under the gun one flat, and then middle position jams over the top, and she looks down at kings and with a potential of two ladders. Like, am I ever folding that spot? No, but I'm also not as good at poker as she is. Like I'm not
Yes, you're not
finding.
thinking about the ranges. You're seeing kings call. You're not thinking about the ladders. You're not thinking about what they could have.
Yeah, unless it's life-changing money for me, like I'm never folding kings in that spot. But I think a much higher percentage than uh, people are willing to admit, she's actually just going to see aces there a lot.
Agree.
So
Carter Short says there are multiple strategy approaches that can win championship. Yeah, that's the beauty of poker. There's more than one way to skin the cat. Yeah, definitely. That's why people have different styles. Some people are tight, some people are loose. But in general, you got to be somewhat studied in this day and age, unless if you're playing against fish, you don't have to be studied. Intuitive play can you can win those events, but playing against sharks, things change a little bit. Becoming the table captain is where the bread and butter lays. Agree. Everyone will surpass you once you know you're the best and stop studying and adapting. 100%. KNN says getting lucky doesn't equate to skill. Agree.
yeah.
What does a good month actually look like for a local grinder, not the Instagram version?
So to be honest with you, Carl, I don't even know if grinder is the right term for me because I work a full-time job. I've got two
Mhm.
kids. I'm married. I live an hour away from the closest card room. So for me, I play probably 6 to 12 tournaments a month.
Okay.
And so a good month for me is that I didn't punt a lot. That's a good month for me, right? And so we were talking before we went on air. For a couple of years now, I've been between 25 and 30% of bullets cashed, and so I'm happy with that. Um, I think my goal is typically if I can break even on everything other than my deep runs, then I have a chance to continue to be profitable in poker. And so like anything that's min cash to like final 5% of the field, if I can break even on those, I think I'm in a really good spot because I'm likely to have had at least one deep run every couple of months. And when you're only playing 6 to 12 tournaments a month, one deep run can pay for like 4 months of tournaments, right? And so That's what is successful for me, is that I'm not going over there and wasting my time by just punting my stack off.
Mm-hmm.
The
You keep
results
track.
themselves. Sorry,
You keep.
I was just gonna say. That,
Yeah, go
keep
ahead. Go ahead.
the results themselves, I try not to get too caught up in those, because as we know, like, there's going to be a lot of spots where you're getting it in good and losing. There's going to be a lot of spots where you're getting it in almost dead and winning. You can't take those spots and go like, oh man, I'm great at poker. Obviously, like, oh, I got it in with 20% equity, and I ended up winning the tournament, but I should have busted 5 off the bubble when I got it in horrendous. And so you can't boil down who you are as a poker player based off of results, because results lie. They're not, results themselves in a vacuum are not indicative of your skill level and your knowledge. Over a long term, they are, but over a short term, you can't get caught up in results.
That's the thing. When somebody's on a heater and they have a couple scores, people start asking me, what are they doing different? Are they studying this? Maybe it's just variance.
Yeah,
And variance is a thing. Like they start asking me if people are getting consistency. If somebody's consistent, this is the guy you need to ask questions. What are they doing?
yeah,
Not somebody that has a bout of good luck for like a month or two. They're crushing and then they disappear. Most people that have a big score, people think they're doing something amazing, then they fall off the grid. Somebody like Becker comes to mind, consistent, was crushing Tampa, went to Vegas, crushed even more. This is somebody that's doing something right, you know?
sure,
Somebody that's got a big score and then fall off, like the WSOP main champions. Jamie Gold won the 9 million, 10 million, never did anything afterwards. Fossil Man, they had millions, and then the next year it's like 30K on Hendon. They just fall off the map. They just got lucky that one tournament, and obviously, their game has leaks. McKeon, for example, won and then kept crushing.
yeah,
So this,
crusher for sure.
even though, man, I watched that main event final table. I forgot how weird it was. His stares at other people, everything tilted me when I watched that final table. Everybody was acting weird. The
Yeah,
weird
that was the
stare.
same. That was the same final table with that really weird guy, Justin something, right? Um,
The
oh,
guy, the guy that said I don't do handshakes, people.
yes, yeah,
Oh my god, yeah, it was the weirdest final. Everything was and I forgot how tilting it was because I forgot it. I watched it, but I forgot how weird it was. But now, if you rewatch it, everything, their actions at the table, the tanking in spots, uh, yeah, it was. But yeah, my whole point is about people that are consistent and people that just bing something and just disappear. Um, okay, I don't know if this question applies to you, but how do you approach exploitative versus GTO and low to mid stakes tournaments?
yeah. There may be a day that I decide to dive deep into GTO study. It hasn't happened yet. So for me, I feel strongly like I understand the goal of GTO, right? Is to be unexploitable. Here's the problem with that at the small to mid stakes level is they're not paying attention. So you can be as balanced as you want to be, but when before a hand made it to showdown where you went 1.2 on the turn and bombed river and you had the stones, right? So then you run that same sizing with air and they call off with second pair. You know why? They weren't paying attention when you had it. And so it doesn't matter how balanced you are, they're playing their hand and they don't care what you have.
Yesterday, a guy told me he's like, you need to stop making podcasts. And I'm like, what is this guy say? He's like, you need to stop making podcasts. I said, why? He said, because you're telling people how you play. I said, it was Merso. I said, Merso, I can come into this game and tell them exactly how I'm going to play and still beat these players because they're not paying attention to what I'm
Yeah.
doing. They're just focused on what they're doing in their hands. They're not
Yep.
at that level. And he didn't say anything. I have
Yeah.
people tell you gotta get out of Tampa. People are adjusting. Some people are adjusting to what I'm doing, but I can literally tell them, hey, I'm gonna do this and this and this today and still beat them. But anyway, have you ever gone completely broke what did you change after that? I don't know if this applies to you because you have another source of income, but have you ever, let's say, went on a downswing? That probably applies to you more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the poker bankroll has gone to zero a few times. So for me, I try and keep those things completely separate because my wife and I share our finances 100%.
Shout out to the wife, by the way, from her comments on Facebook. She seems like a big supporter of you playing poker, which is very lucky.
Oh yeah,
It's hard
yeah.
to find a partner that supports what you do because most, when you get on the downswing with the first thing the girlfriend says, go get a job, or they don't respect what you're doing. Like, yeah, having a support system is, I always say it is definitely important. But yeah, so you said you share the finances with the wifey.
Yeah, and for me, I try and keep poker money separate. But when the poker bankroll has gone to zero a couple times, there's been a few times that maybe things got tight around the house, and we've got to dip into the poker bankroll to help with bills and things like that, which obviously hurts the roll. But who cares? We share everything. But typically, if it gets really low, I mean, all it changes in the short run is that I'm probably going to play a little less. So last year, I made a career change, went from real estate to the mortgage side, and it was a really tough year to be uh, a loan officer for the first time. Right, last
Mm-hmm.
year was really rough, and so I didn't play a lot last year because there just wasn't money for me to play. And so
Mm-hmm.
as soon as the poker bankroll dried up, it's not like I can just go, oh, can I get 2 bullets for this 400? We didn't have it. And so, I just played less last year. And every now and then, I'd scrape up some money and I'd go play a tournament. And I actually won 2 trophies last year, shockingly. I won a PLO tournament and I won that 400 at the Pinktober. So for me, since I'm not depending on poker, it's not a huge adjustment. I'm just trying to find times to play. So it's my outlet. It's my country club, golf, whatever it may be. That's for me, it's poker. And so I want to be great at it, but it's not my source of income. So my bankroll management, I don't have any. I play as much as I can when I've got a roll, and when I don't, I've got to depend on binking something to rebuild. If anyone here is watching this and trying to learn bankroll management, I ain't the guy.
Somebody mentioned something about 100 binds to be comfortable. I forgot who it was. Uh, KNN said, good question. Who are the most consistent players in Tampa? Okay, let's hear it. Most
Uh, most consistent in Tampa. I mean, you're definitely up there. A lot of the people you've had on the pod, I would consider definitely better players than me, and so those would be the people that I would mention. Drew hasn't been on the pod, but Drew's up there.
I
James,
asked Drew. He didn't want to come on. I would love to have him.
yeah, he and I talked about it last time we played together, and I think he's he's a very interesting poker player because he too, I think, is very self aware in the sense that, like, who am I to go on that podcast? I had the same thing. Like, uh, I was really struggling with whether or not to come on because I'm like, there's going to be so many people watching this that are
You know
like,
what? It's not about, it's not, when I invite somebody on the podcast, obviously something special about them. I've played with them and I know they're capable. I'm not going to invite somebody that's an, some people ask me, like, can I come on the podcast? But I don't think they're capable or they're ever going to be great at poker. So if I pick somebody, I know that they have something special. Like they're doing something right. They have a good poker IQ. That's so when I asked Drew obviously just looking at him at the table, he gets in a flow state that's insane. You can
for
feel
sure,
it, So Drew is definitely, like, some people say, "Oh, I don't want to get on. I gotta score this much for." No, no, no. When I ask you, I know you're capable. And I want to hear your story. But obviously, I think you're capable. That's when you get the invite. Drew is definitely qualifies.
for sure. Yeah, Drew and I, we got to play heads up for like 3+ hours during that Pinktober 400.
Hmm.
That was fun. Funny
Drew
story about
battle.
that. Oh
Drew
yeah,
battle.
for sure. He's gonna put you in some spots. I mean,
Of course.
we the crazy thing about that final table, I went back and looked after it was posted on Hindenmob, and like as a recreational player that doesn't put a ton of volume in, I don't have like a huge number on Hindenmob, but I've got more than most, and
Oh, that's respectable. 200K is respectable.
I came into that final table, Carl, like 7th in money on Hindenmob. That it was like the toughest 400 ever. It shouldn't
Which
be
one?
too far. It was 2025, October 2025.
25. The booming 1-day guaranteed Tampa.
No, it's one down. Yeah, that one.
Oh, Drew got second. Okay.
Yeah.
Mo Isa, I think this guy's battles too. He built stacks. He got third. Steven Diamantis, he's a crusher. He came back to the scene. He disappeared for a while. Him and his dad used to play. He came back. He's tough to play against, and now I
Yeah.
haven't seen him in a while. That's Stu the Donk right here, 5th place. Corey Zato. He was grinding in Tampa too, and I haven't seen him in a while. You know Corey?
Yeah, I've played a few tables with him. I mean, the guy that finished right ahead of him, Dom, he's got big numbers on him, and then Lisi finished 8th. But
I don't know
yeah, I
if
mean
I know.
that was a tough final table, but it was a lot of fun. It's poker's more fun playing against really good players, but I think the people who try and say like, oh, it's harder to play against fish, to me that makes you sound like a fish. Like, sure, a fish is going to show up with holdings that they shouldn't have, and you're going to lose some big pots to them. But it's so much easier to accumulate a stack against bad players than it is against capable players. And so, but it's more rewarding to beat a capable player, right? Like if it had just been
It makes you dig deep when you're playing against capable
oh
players.
yeah, I mean, so Drew and I we're heads up in this, and I've got him like I got him down to like half a big blind at one point, and I think we're playing like 60 bigs total. So, and I tell him this story that I was heads up in Hollywood last year. I had a 13-1 chip lead and I lost the trophy. Well,
Wow.
he goes from half a big blind to we're even. And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh no, it's happening again." And I'm not kidding, Carl. I wanted to go to the Skyway and jump off. I was freaking out because I was like, "How is this happening again?" And luckily, I ended up winning the tournament, not because I'm a better player, but the cards just fell my way. But heads up is can really put you in some crazy spots because obviously your ranges are incredibly expanded, and you're going to find some goofy lines that you wouldn't find full ring. And so, but I really enjoy it. I've always loved playing heads up.
How good are you heads up?
I don't know. I mean, how do you really? I mean, when I first started playing poker, I would punt online all the time. But one of the things that I really like to do because it's quick and it's easy, you could do it on you could fire one on a work break is heads up sit and goes. And so I played a decent amount of heads up sit and goes in the past, and so I'm confident in my heads up game. I've won a few in a row now. I actually chopped heads up recently because it wasn't a trophy event. The guy had me 3-1 in chips and gave me a really good deal. So, but yeah, I'm confident in it. I think anytime you can make really light calls and run some pretty risky bluffs, you can do pretty well heads up.
At least you have experience heads up. Some players never play heads up. They get
Well,
to the heads up and they have
yeah,
no clue what.
or they chop every time. And so, like, I don't want to be completely out to lunch if I ever do make it heads up in a really big spot. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because let's say I win a seat from the league this year and I get to the main, and let's say I get heads up with Stephen Chidwick, right? You know what he's never doing off the table? He's never making a deal with me. And so,
No.
yeah, why
No
would he,
kidding.
right? So, like, it can't be the first time I ever played heads up. Like, he's going to dominate me probably 80.
You can't make deals.
Well, you can do it off the table. But, yeah, he's going to beat me.
Okay.
He's going to beat me eight times out of 10. but I want to at least not feel completely lost in those spots.
I
And
don't think
so-
he's that in poker. The edge is never that. It's not basketball. You might run hot, and you're a capable player. His edge is not that huge. He's gonna be
Well-
tough. It's gonna be a tough match for you, of course. He's gonna put you in spots, but he's not gonna beat you 8 times out of 10. I don't think.
Maybe not. I would bet on him in that spot. If the line was set at 7.5, I'd bet the over.
I have a question here that doesn't apply to you. What's your stop loss mentally, not financially, but emotionally? But the thing is, there is no stop loss in tournament, like, because this applies more to cash.
Well, I think it can apply to tournaments. I'll tell you, for me, there's a few things that I go through on whether or not I'm just going to max fire an event, right? So if I go, Monday night, I drove all the way out to Silks. It's like an hour and 30-minute drive for me. And I buy into the 150, and I'm doing fine. I end up, busting out in the hand where something happened exactly how I wanted it to happen. Turns out in the year of our Lord 2026, some people are still limping queens under the gun +2. And so when I thought I was inducing a bluff shove with my squeeze from the big blind with 10s, I was actually just inducing like the stones to put the chips in. So I'm out, but I didn't care. Like I never at any point in those couple hours I was playing could I get into it. And so I just went home. There was still like an hour of reg, and that I almost never do that. But if I feel like I'm not focused, I can't seem to make myself care about the tournament, I'll go home. If I have to pay a $9 ATM fee, I'll drive home. As crazy as that is, I'll buy into a 500 4 times. But if I need to go to the ATM and it's going to cost me $9, I'm like, I ain't paying that $9. I'll go home.
To be
Or
fair,
if I'm
Silks ATM is a little bit more reasonable. Hard Rock is $9. Silks is
Hard
like
Rock
4 or 5, maybe 6.
But or if I'm really tilted, I'll leave as well. But if I feel like I'm playing well and I just got coolered or things like that, and I feel like I'm focused, I will fire until max late reg. Because in the fields that I'm playing, I feel like I have an edge even with 15 bigs, whatever it is. I feel like I have an edge in those fields. And so people that go, oh, well, you got to get third place to get your money back. No, it's a new tournament. What are we talking about? Like, this is a whole new tournament.
People like to talk shit. If they see a rebuy, man, they talk shit for sure. And you'll be, especially if you're a better player than them. They're never going to talk shit about the player that's bad. If you're better than them, they always want to put you down. Talk to me about live tells. How much do you rely on live tells in like close spots?
A lot. Probably more than I should. I've joked in the past that I need to get a tattoo right here on my arm that says "Don't trust your live tells," because it can make you go broke in a lot of spots, just misreading something. But for me, it is a large part of my game. I do think I'm pretty good at just recognizing when someone's really uncomfortable, and sometimes their bluffs are beating me, so you kind of gotta rebluff the river, or in spots where it's got to be close either way, right? So a live tell's got to be a tiebreaker for me. It's not going to be anything. I won't get into specifics because my game is pure exploits, and I don't want to give those away because I still like to win. But timing tells are big. People's mouths tell a lot. And sizing a lot of times tells everything. So
yeah, because amateurs don't know how to balance. That's the thing. They don't even know what balance means.
No, and for me, a lot of times with the sizing, right, if someone goes like third pot flop and then they just repeat that bet on the turn, like it's just like green light, or they go really small on the river, I have to ask myself, like, does this person even know what a block bet is? Because, like, if they're blocking to induce, then obviously you don't want to fall straight into that trap. But most players, that would never even enter their mind. And so a lot of times you just have the green light just to bomb. And, sometimes it just
very few times players do it for value because they don't know how to size.
Sure.
So they size small on the river, and but you have to build a pattern. you have to see that they've done it before where they bet small on the river, not necessarily because they're weak, but because they're trying to get paid. That's so like 1989.
Yep.
It happened yesterday at Derby. Guy bet small on the river, and I knew it was. I mean, he was giving me such a good price. He was giving me like 9-1. I just called with a bluff catcher, and obviously he had the coconuts. So it's lack of. He just doesn't know better.
Well, and I think too a lot. If they're out of position, I'm more likely to bluff those spots because if they're in position, like most bad players, they're not going for thin value.
No.
And so, like those small bets, they're just calling whatever raise because they could have just checked back, right? And that's what they're going to do most of the time. And so, position has a lot to do with it too. If I'm in position, I'm much more likely to bluff because they don't know what to do out of position on the river. So they just stick out a small bet, hoping that you're just going to fold. And we don't like to do that. I don't like to fold.
Carter Shark said balance like my bank account. That's exactly it.
Who are you? Reveal yourself.
Who are you? Is that? I think it's Stephen Boomar. I think so. What's the one old school concept that still crushes today, in your opinion?
That's a good question. I'll tell you. I'll tell you in PLO8 or Big O what it is never leave home without an ace. But when it comes to Hold'em, I don't know. One of the things that echoes through my mind, and a lot of times when I'm playing poker, I can't remember if it was high stakes poker or poker after dark. But when Doyle says, sometimes you can't get through the front door, you got to get in through the window, or whatever it is he says. I mean, that echoes through my mind a lot of times, and it's what we were talking about earlier. People would consider a lot of what I'm doing fancy play syndrome, but a lot of it's just picking up your patterns and exploiting them. And like, I just know you're never strong enough here to play for stacks. And so I think some of that old school Texas gamblers mentality of just like, let's see if he's got it. Some of that still works. If you can rein it in, and because that line between being a maniac and being capable, that's a razor's edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I go, that guy's capable, I respect him. He's bluffing in good spots. He's telling stories that make sense. He's exploiting, spots that are, I think, plus EV in the long run. The guy that's the maniac doesn't know when to rein it in and when to stop. That was me when I first started.
Yeah,
and I went a couple years of going to Tampa and trying to play tournaments, and I mean, just blasting. That's always been a part of my game. Is I will blast.
Feel alive. Blasting makes me feel alive. When I do it and it gets through, I'm like, okay, I'm in the mix. I'm playing poker today.
For sure.
The times when I'm playing GTO, like people have to understand GTO and exploitative. GTO is more defensive. You're on the defense. You're forcing players to make mistakes, and you're not making mistakes, but it's more defensive and somewhat passive. Not always. Exploitative is more, foot on the pedal. You're driving the action. It's you put people in spots. It's more maniacal, more aggressive. I like it better, honestly, and it works way better here locally for sure. GTO doesn't work locally because the players aren't even close to playing GTO. You play in GTO, you're just leaving money at the table.
Yeah.
Old school. One thing comes to mind: people that check dark still today. They're like, I check dark before. Like, what does that accomplish? Checking dark. Why not check or act when the card comes and formulate your strategy accordingly? Check dark. This is so high. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, for me that's like a telltale sign for a fish typically, especially in some. We're going to see pots like that are limped 5 ways, right? And I'm always okay with limping behind with some holdings. I'm never going to open limp, but I'll limp behind sometimes just because I'm like I can just outplay these people post flop. And so like I'm never going to squeeze late position with like pocket threes when 3 people in early position have limped. I'm just going to limp behind, right? Well, when the guy in the big blind checks dark, or the guy in the small blind checks dark in a 5-way limp pot, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, there are some spots that I'm okay with checking dark. Like, I'm never donking big blind versus under the gun open. I just donk 0% there. That could be a huge leak in my game. And so I can understand why someone might check dark in that spot if they know they're never leading.
It's not a huge EV leak if you don't have 0 donks, but the solver these days have some donks in some spots. Big blind versus like early open or late open. You have some
Yeah.
donks, but it's not like it's a huge leak if you don't do it. Another old school play is the stop and go. It still applies today and it still works in some spots. Instead of putting all the chips in pre, you can wait to see the flop. A lot of players and it's actually not, I've seen pros do it too. It still works. The give ups sometimes you're gonna get called by ace high if you're not deep. If you have like 6 or 7 bigs, they just call it off. And sometimes it works, it gets folds. What's the wildest thing you've seen at a local poker room?
That's a good question. I think we've all seen some pretty crazy stuff. I'll tell you the craziest thing. This will probably be the craziest thing you've ever heard, ever in any poker room ever. I once saw Maurice not say anything for 2 whole levels. It was mind-blowing.
Must have had a headache or something.
I don't know. Maybe somebody put him in his place before that. I doubt it. I've never seen him be put in his place. He's always got something back. But yeah, he was playing with me one time, and he was quiet for like 2 whole levels, and I was like, "This is not what I paid to see."
Very unusual. Ever had a hand where someone gave a full speech and actually helped you make the right decision?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll say generally speaking, a speech is like overfold city for me, because the majority of players, if they're bluffing, they're absolutely crapping their pants, and so they're not going to be capable of giving a speech. There's been a few times where the speech is so tilted towards "look how comfortable I am." This made me call light. But it depends on the player. But I think generally speaking, recreational players giving a speech is overfold for me, big time.
Unless you're Scott Seaver. I watched the hand a couple days ago on YouTube. When he makes aces fold, the flush completes on the turn. I think it was Stonemeyer. I forgot who the opponent was, but it was a German crusher. Rinkemeyer, and he slow played aces because I think Scott 3-bet and the guy just flat aces. The flop comes like jack high or queen high. He goes for the check call. Flush completes on the turn. Rinkemeyer checks and Seaver sends it like overbet spot, goes all in. Rinkemeyer goes in the tank and he's like, I got a strong hand here. It's like I can't fold this hand. And this is when Seaver was like, whoa, what do you have? You have like top, he says top pair, and then he's like, no, stronger. And he's like, wow, you have aces. Wow, and he goes in the speech play and makes him fold because he looked so comfortable. I tried to look for tells or if he seems weak or strong. Good luck getting anything out of it. He made him fold aces.
Yeah, his speech play is like top shelf stuff. I mean, I know what hand you're talking about, and I remember the funniest part is just how bewildered he is that Rinkemeyer folded aces. He was like, "Ace, you folded what?"
Yeah, and the way he threw it in his face is not pro-like. Like Seaver should be better than this. He threw it in front of him. That's the thing I mentioned before. He threw it in front of me like, whoa, how does he fold aces? Because the flush completes and you go all in. That's how he folds aces.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a blocker to the flush, so he has flushes all day. So that's how he folds aces. Who's the most entertaining reg in your scene?
Oh man, that's a good question. There's a lot of entertaining players in their area. Ross is definitely up there. I haven't played with Ross a ton, but he's doing the same shtick minus the alcohol when he's in the box. So Ross is up there. Joel for me. You've had him on the pod.
Joel Deutsch?
Yes. Now I've experienced Joel. I haven't played a lot of No Limit with Joel, but we've played some mixed home games together, and he and I are both whales in that lineup. And so it's a lot of fun. He's up there. Wonder who else. Oh man, no, it's a good question. Entertaining. Clive. Clive's up there.
Clive, yeah, definitely entertaining in the league. Yes, he's
Wink.
not like that outside the league. He's pretty dialed in outside the league. Glasses on. He drinks sometimes, but he doesn't make jokes or entertain. But the league, because we all know each other, yeah, he gets out of line for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask this question, and we're gonna go to the questions from the chat on Facebook. What separates long-term winners from break-even grinders mentally?
That's a good one. I think mindset has a lot more to do with results than people are willing to admit. For me, it does, at least. So, you ever heard the term self-fulfilling prophecy? So, if you think something bad is going to happen, you end up making a series of decisions that actually makes that come true. And so, I think a huge line of demarcation between a bad player or a break-even player and a profitable player is the mindset. So for me, like if I enter into a tournament and my mind's not locked in and I feel like let's say I've been running bad recently and I think, oh, here it comes. I'm less likely to pay really close attention to those really small spots, right? Those spots where it's really close. And I'm more likely just to flick the call in without thinking. Whereas if I'm locked in, I'm in a flow state, I'm expecting to win, I'm going to find the right decision a lot more often than I am if sorry, I'm getting a phone call, than I am if I'm expecting to lose. And so I don't think like thinking you're going to win is going to there's no magic there. All it is that when you think you're going to win, you actually make a series of small decisions that are more in the long run going to be much higher EV than if you think you're going to lose. Because for me, when I'm running bad and I have a bad mindset, I think, oh, I'm going to lose. It's so much easier for me just to become a station or to bluff the guy who hasn't three bet all day, but just because I'm bored. And then people walk away, and I think bad players go, man, variance, or what was I supposed to do? I don't know, brother. Like, there's a lot of things you could have done. Maybe not open that hand. You definitely should have folded to the three bet. And when you flop top pair against the guy who hasn't three bet in 8 hours, you probably shouldn't check jam top pair. There's about 5 things you could have done not to bust there. And that's the difference between a good player and a bad player. Is a good player will walk away from that and go, I made 5 mistakes there. And a bad player walks away from that and goes, variance.
That's the sick part about poker. Are you that friend that if a friend texts you a complete punt, are you gonna tell him like you should have done this and this and this different? You're a fish, or are you gonna like try to appease them and say, "Oh, it's variance, bro. There's nothing you could have done there."
Typically, I want the same. I try and give people what I want from people, and so if I'm texting you a hand history and asking for advice, I want to know what mistake. So in the past, I've sent you hands in the past. Shane, Clyde, James, my league partner Jay. Those are kind of the people that I've sent hands to in the past, and I'm wanting to know like what I do wrong here. And so when people send me hands, I try and be honest with them. Like, yeah, like against that certain player, especially in league. So like Jay and I will text about hands that we played in league, and we know all the players because we play against them every week. And so
How study is?
Jay studied.
Huh? Interesting.
Yeah. No, Jay is. People are asking me like about his game, and I've said many times that he's going to make less mistakes than me for sure. And he's outplaying me in league this year, thank God, because I think I've got a third and a fourth, and he's won twice. So we're in contention right now, thanks to him. But yeah, no, he's a good player. I wouldn't have asked him to be my teammate if he wasn't. I'm not going to have a fish as a teammate. Yeah.
Carter Shark said tripped across your podcast and took a gander. So he's not telling us who he is. Incognito. Okay, let's see some some out of the line question from the Facebook group. Some questions, some comments. Okay. Marissa Nicholson says, "Love everything about this." Shout out to Marissa.
Yeah, she's hot.
Is she watching? Is she watching in the background right now? Is she next to you?
She's getting her hair done.
Okay. Josh says, "I'll always have at least one fan." I said, "That's one more than what I have."
No, Tasha's your fan.
True. I have one. Thomas Robertson put eyes. He's just got eyes on us.
Yeah,
no
I didn't know what that meant.
He's
You know,
watching.
the imposter syndrome was going off like crazy whenever you asked me to come on here, and I'm like, yeah, he probably thinks I'm a fish. That's fine. I mean, there's not a single poker player out there that there's not someone out there that thinks they suck.
Of course. Me
So-
included. All of us. Yeah. You always have that one person that talks shit behind your back, thinks you're not capable, because maybe they've seen that one punt back in 1985 and they just judge you on that. You know what
Yep,
I mean? I
for
have
sure.
players spend 10 minutes with me at the time. I'm sure they weren't impressed and they judge me based on that. Same applies to you. Because of course we don't bring. I always say I sometimes bring my C game, sometimes I bring my A game. When I bring my A game, it's a show to watch, and when I bring my C game, I'm like every other fish at the table. So it depends on what you see.
Yep.
Josh says, "Let's see some questions so we don't have to watch me stare blankly at Carl when he asks what percentage I should be 3-betting big blind versus cutoff." Fair question.
Yeah, I would. I don't know the answers to those questions. So
We're not
yeah,
gonna ask. So
good.
Tanya Nicholson says, "Okay, what fun! So excited." Tanya is your mother.
Yeah, that's my mom.
Is she watching?
I don't know. Shout out, mama. Yeah,
Shout out to Tanya.
she's definitely who I got the ability to pick up concepts from. Well, I shouldn't say it. My dad watches this. He's gonna think I'm calling him dumb. He's not dumb, but my mom's brilliant. So I have her to thank for the brain.
And she plays cards.
No, she doesn't play cards, but she's very, very, very bright. So I think that's a good starting point for people who play cards. It's tough to today's poker. It's tough to be like an average IQ individual and win.
Oh yeah, of course. You gotta outsmart your opponents. AJ Kelsall, shout out to the GOAT. He said, what hurts worse, a Georgia loss to Bama, or flopping a set and having an OMC pile into you on the river when the flush gets there?
Shout out AJ. So basically what AJ is asking is, does it hurt worse for Georgia to lose to Alabama, or does it hurt worse losing a hand to AJ because AJ is OMC?
Whoa, I didn't see that going wow, that went dark.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely Georgia losing to Bama. That one's the worst.
Hurts more. But you just called AJ a nit. Damn.
He's not really.
Rob Cotto, shout out to Rob. He's like, what are a few of your pet peeves within a poker tournament, either from players, dealers, or floor? One for me lately is the player that stacks their chips with different denominations to the ceiling as one tower. I can't easily count it, and you take forever to put your bets out.
Yeah, I'm definitely a 20 stack guy, pretty hardcore. Every now and then I'll find myself with a weird chip stack, but it's because I'm just bored and maybe I was shuffling them. But I think my biggest pet peeves have to do with people's attitudes. I'm thinking of a specific person in league that I just can't stand because he's a jerk to people at the table. He's a jerk to dealers.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to name names. But because it doesn't do me any good, doesn't do them any good. I'm sure they've been told many times.
I'm trying to think who that person could be.
But
because everybody's super nice in the league.
Not everybody.
We won't name names, but we'll narrow it down.
I'm not answering.
Is he still alive right now in the league? Is he in contention or not? That's
No.
all. He's not in contention.
No.
Okay. All right. We won't name names. So I can think of one player that stacks his chips in one tower. Shout out to Matt Ball. He stacks
Oh
his
yeah, he does.
high as possible. They almost you want to put a light on top for fucking aircraft.
Yeah,
'Cause
Matty Ice. Shout
stack
out
and
Matty Ice.
Matty Ice does that too.
That's no, I call Matthew Ball Matty Ice.
Matty Ice got ice in his veins.
Yeah. No, it's funny. We went about 3 weeks recently where we were at each other's table every tournament. I like Matt a lot.
I coached him one time, and after that he started getting results. He's had results. He improved his game. It's mostly mental. He's very calm, deliberate with his decisions. Yeah, I think the kid is capable for sure. Shout out to the doc, Jack Feeney. He says, easily one of the best players in Tampa, an amazing guy who's so supportive of other players. Him and John are quite a team in the league every season.
Those are really kind words. Love Jack. Definitely one of the good guys in the Tampa scene, and another player that's gotten a lot better over the last couple of years. I would say Jack.
Yes, he has. He's bringing intensity to the table. I've noticed, and I'm gonna say the past few months he went from just average Joe. He took it to another level. Yeah, he brings intensity.
Yeah, I think he's tapped into some of what. I mean, you can't drill into people's mouths and remove people's teeth for a living and not be like cool under pressure, right? Like he has to put people under and like extract their teeth. He's going to be cool under pressure, and I've seen that translate more into the poker game recently. Where I will say, when I first started playing with Jack, first got to know him a little bit, you could tell when he was nervous, and I think he's gotten a lot better at controlling that. I'm always rooting for Jack.
Yes, definitely one of the good guys, and I like what he did to his game. You kind of respect it when some players play 20 plus years, they're bringing the same game to the table, they're making the same mistakes and the same behavioral tells over and over. They don't work on it. But somebody that changes within months, you got to respect it. It's like, what? Yeah, it's impressive. Marissa Isabella, shout out to Marissa. So 100 duck-sized horses or a horse-sized duck?
I take it out to fight these things to the death.
You know what? Yeah, he asked that question before, or she. He transitioned like a few months ago. Yeah, to fight 100 duck-sized horses or a horse-sized duck.
I think I'm gonna have to go with 100 duck-sized horses because I can't imagine they're going to be able to mobilize their collective efforts in any kind of constructed effort. So I think I can pick them off one by one.
Yeah, and they don't have really any weapons to fight with. No teeth. They can't bite. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a small armory I can use too. So
yeah, just kicking. You just kick them to death. Steven Boomhauer, why do you have to play No Limit Hold'em too? Why can't you just crush the geezer games and leave us alone?
See, that's funny because everybody in the geezer games would 100% see me as a spot. So I enjoy those games. But like if you were to ask Lockie or AJ or any of the guys in the local scene that like to play mix, I'm not good at it. I love it though. I love a game that's not solved and trying to live solve it while you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years ago, I went out to the series and I busted the main with 3 hands left in day one. Was absolutely crushed. I've been watching the main event every year since I was 12 years old. Always dreamed of going and playing. I get out there, I play, have a really tough day one table, and end up busting. Xuan Liu kind of sucked out on me. Who cares? Bad beat story, whatever. I'm out of the main. The next day, my wife and I are out there together. I'm like, I want to play anything but No Limit Hold'em. And so I regged the 1508 game, and I get in there. I don't know how to play 2 of the games, and I'm sitting there with like Isildur's in the room and Aryeh and like all these crushers, Seaver, and I'm playing, and we're playing stud. In my head, I'm playing stud high low, and there's a reporter at the table, and because this pot's massive, we're getting in multiple bets on every street, and finally it gets the other. There's a 3-handed or 3 guys in the hand, and they're both staring at me kind of weird. And I'm like, what's going on here? Finally, we get to 7th Street, and we get the bets in. One guy folds, and I very confidently say nut low. Well, it wasn't the nut low because that'd be a wheel, but I said six low, and the dealer goes, "Yeah, we're playing 7-card stud high," and I was like, "Ah," and the reporter's sitting there, and he's writing everything down, and he looks at me, he goes, "Sir, what's your name?" I said, "Don't worry about it."
Oh my God, disregard. You're
Yep.
like, disregard the name. Wow. Yeah, you don't want that to go on Poker News.
No, they put the story up there, and it was Sam Rosen. I'll never forget this guy's name. Sam Rosen wins huge pot against player playing the wrong game.
They just put unknown player?
Yeah.
They put your picture or no?
No, thank God.
Thank God. Okay, they kept it clean. Richard Carr says, "Go Dogs."
Go Dogs.
Scott Schlane. I pulled up Scott's picture. Now I know who it is. I can't wait for this episode. Here it is. And then the machine, Chad Kitchen. Chad is KNN, by the way, because he said I'm the worst player in the building in the comments, and that's his shtick, that he's the worst. I think somebody told him that he's the worst player in the building once, and the kid crushes everything now.
Yeah, no,
Kitchen, he said, been watching Josh develop for a few years, and he's dangerous at the table for sure.
yeah, I appreciate that, Chad. I mean, Chad's obviously crushes, and when I first started playing, I found myself trying to talk to him on breaks and things like that because, I recognized that he was a good player. So, I'm trying to befriend good players, so people I can talk hands with, things like that. But he always intimidated me when I first started playing. Not to say that he doesn't now. I think every poker player, when you get into really big spots, you're going to be nervous and things like that. But like the just pure intimidation factor for me has left for most people. And it has nothing to do with whether or not I think I'm better than them. It has more to do with whether or not I think I'm capable of not being completely lost in the hand. And so, I can think of a hand that Chad and I played a long time ago where I've got an overpair, out of position. I see bet. He calls, turns an 8. I bet. He jams, and I look at him. I go, "You just banked the set of 8s, didn't you?" And I put the call in like old school Daniel Negreanu style. And he goes, "Yep, I did." And I just remember thinking, like, there's a lot of people that I might fold to here, but I can't fold to Chad because the same thing we were talking about earlier. I know Chad's capable of maybe turning some sort of combo draw here into a bluff, and so I just have to call, and he gets my chips. And so definitely respect this game.
That's why you get called. You got to have that factor that, okay, this guy is sometimes full of shit and sometimes has it. Unlike the guy that always has it, it's easier to fold against that guy. Scott says, "What do you think about players who have to hold their sleeve to the mouth and probably vaping? Are they donks? Is it a reverse tell?" Yes, I'm talking about Drew.
Okay, I heard about this. We'll talk about this because I think Drew watches the pod, and Scott's obviously watching.
You're talking about
I don't know what happened there because I've never seen Drew have a sideways word with anybody, but apparently Drew and Scott had a rough day together during the series. And I'll just say this, Scott, I like you. Drew, I like you. Maybe next time we have a series and y'all are both together, y'all can hug and make up. And Drew, stop vaping at the table.
Oh, so he put his sleeve to his mouth and then vaped under the sleeve?
Yeah, people that have been vaping along, it doesn't bother me personally. But dealers have to make a choice, right? Am I going to be a person who enforces the rules regardless of the situation? And I think safely, I think they should, because then you're free from ever showing any kind of favoritism if you do that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so I
Sure.
think in that situation, Scott was going to enforce a rule. Drew didn't like how he went about it. They went back and forth. Floor got called a few times, and the rest is history.
Okay. Besides this situation, like you said, dealers have to enforce the rules. But the people that go crazy over somebody vaping inside, I'm sorry, vaping and smoking are not the same, not
No.
even close. Smoking inside is fucking disgusting. It smells bad. Vaping, it smells like peaches. Like they're completely different. But I understand if the rule is no vaping inside, no vaping inside. But don't put
Yeah.
smoking and vaping in the same category. They're not even. Let's wrap up, Josh, with some rapid fire questions I have. Ace King, premium hand or emotional damage waiting to happen? What comes to mind is that guy that throws the shankla and says emotional damage. So which one is it?
Premium for me. Like the people that say they hate Ace King, I don't understand it. It to me, if I had to rank them, it's actually number 3 for me. I know equity wise it's not, but I think it's easier to play post flop than queens, jacks, tens. And you're blocking aces and kings, so you just have green light to bomb sometimes. So I love Ace King. If I peel Ace King, it looks like aces to me.
Of course. I mean, I see players point. Ace King is not easy to navigate post flop. So it's not like when we have pocket fours, for example, and it's so easy to play post flop. No set, you just fold the hand. Ace King, you when you break, that's the problem is when you break when you bank an ace or a king on the flop, it's easy to continue. When you break the flop, that's when things get tricky. Sometimes they get married to it, sometimes they let it go too easily. Some people just like who comes to mind is Jim Brinkley. He used to hate it. He would fold the ace king. He would lose 0 blinds with ace king if he breaks. If he binks the ace or a king, he plays it, but very, very passively. But he just hates the hand.
Yeah,
And
it depends on. To me, it depends on a lot on the pre-flop action. So, like, if I'm a 3-better, obviously, like my range is uncapped completely, and so I can rep over pairs nonstop. And I find it pretty easy to play. Like if let's say you get that queen 6-3 rainbow flop, and you see bet 30%, and they call, and then you get a jack on the turn, and they check to you, and you go big. Let's say you go 90%, and they call. You're just not betting the river if the 10 doesn't come, right? This is simple stuff. But most of the time, I would say like if you run that out over 1 million hands against 1 million random hands, you're going to get so many folds on that big turn bet that like it's still worth it to just play it like it's an overpair in a lot of those situations.
yeah, because you're comfortable in uncomfortable spots. Some people just can't. They don't like uncomfortable spots.
Sure.
They want to play the whole tournament and have like clear, easy decisions. That if you don't embrace the being uncomfortable, you're not gonna make deep runs. You're not gonna have results in poker. There's so many uncomfortable spots in a tournament where you should like look forward to them, and
Absolutely.
that's where the money is. Like that's where your edge is.
When poker gets weird, that's when it's fun,
Yeah.
because that's what can set you apart from a losing player, is that you just find a way to shine in those spots that a lot of people just crumble.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid these spots like a plague. They want clear decisions, clear, easy decisions. Value, they bet for value, like the clear spots. Everybody knows how to play aces and kings. It's knowing how to navigate post flop when you break is the challenge. Scott says, "I want to hug Drew." That's fair. We'll did it get that heated between them?
I wasn't there. All I heard was the story.
Okay. What's worse, getting coolered or getting slow rolled by someone who calls you buddy?
Definitely slow rolled by like a mile. I've only ever slow rolled in a friendly home game. It's the only time I've ever done it. To me, it's just like it's so low class. You have to have like really long history with somebody, but even then, Like if someone's just been a jerk to me, I'm never going to slow roll them. I have one person on my slow roll list, and they've been there for shoot. This was back when I used to go play 1-2 every now and then in the old room when I was like 25, 24, 25, so 10 years ago. There's one guy, and I haven't seen him since, but if I ever see him and we're at the table together, I'm going to slow roll him if the opportunity comes. But it's just
Because
because
he slow rolled you?
the most egregious slow roll I've ever witnessed. And like for me at the time, it was a lot of money. It was like a $800 pot at a 1-2 table. I mean, like I double my bankroll if I win that hand, right? That's where I was. And
Yeah.
egregious slow roll, and he's the only person that I will ever slow roll if I ever see him again.
That's the one thing in poker I don't respect or understand. Like Sean Deeb does it a lot, and like they get a laugh after the fact. I don't like it. It shouldn't be part of the game. Yesterday it happened where a kid at Derby down to like two tables. A kid opens, older gentleman to my right shoves like 20, 23 bigs, and the kid goes in the tank and then flicks in the call and shows pocket eights. The older gentleman doesn't do anything and then takes one card and then
Ugh.
shows it's a king, and then peels the other card, looks at it, doesn't put it out, and then puts it out. It's another king. And he wins the hand. The whole table didn't, you know how most people say nice hand, and I look at him like, it is like 20 something years old. Why are you? It shows it's nasty. It's nasty all around.
It's a big culture shift, I think, Carl, because like I grew up with pretty, I would say, old school parenting. For me in sports, I was always pretty good at sports, baseball and football, and so in baseball, you hit a dinger, and I was always taught like you've done it before. You drop the bat, you run the bases. You don't sit there, you don't show up the pitcher. You don't do all the celebrating and stuff like that. And I know that's an old school mindset, and people are like, sports should be fun, but they should be. But winning is fun.
It shows character. That's all it is. Shows good character. Slow rolling is the same. It's nasty. It's street. Those things that are street at the table are not necessary. Just win with the cards. Like you don't have to give me a speech afterwards. You don't have to needle me afterwards. All
Agreed.
these things are necessary. Win by playing the game. That's it. If poker had HR, what behavior gets you fired instantly?
I won't say I've ever thrown my cards because I've never like winged them across the room. But I will say I've very forcefully mucked on many occasions. Like
I think you did the King's Eighth hand. I think you pushed it towards a little bit aggressively.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's a natural reaction. We get emotional. We're very competitive. I did it one time. You're not gonna see that much emotion out of me. You're not gonna hear anything after a bad beat. I tried to bottle it up like seconds after, but one time I threw the cards hard at a dealer, and he went and told his girlfriend, and his girlfriend went and told my girlfriend because they work together. She's like, "Oh, Carl folded aggressively at the table." I might have done it. It's not personal, of course.
Yeah.
But normally, I don't show any emotion. But yeah, so that will send you to HR, folding aggressively.
Yeah, I'm like incredibly competitive, which is what brought me to poker, which is what makes me want to play tournaments more than cash games. And so, yeah, I'm not a good loser. I think I'm a pretty gracious winner in most cases, but I'm not a good loser. Never have been. Now, for the most part, I can say nice hand, good luck everybody, and leave. But every now and then that rears its ugly head, and I just lose it for a split second.
What's your I'm definitely tilted giveaway at the table?
Oh, any prolonged hand funeral. If I'm given any kind of hand funeral, I'm not happy. So Definitely call the next hand. I might go 3 streets with air.
Explain to the audience what's a hand funeral. What does that mean?
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with the term, it's just like, so let's say someone bets the river and you call and then they show their hand. You're not obligated in that situation to show your hand unless they're all in. And so it's the looking at your cards for a long time, making faces, and then folding them face down. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, it's bush league. It really is. But I catch myself doing it every now and then. And it's typically in a situation where I knew someone was bluffing and they backed into value.
Yep.
Those are the most annoying ones. And so if that happens, I kind of like, I don't know, part of it I think is I'm trying to let them know, like I knew for pre-flop, flop, in turn, I knew where I was at in this hand, and you just happened to back into a pair of jacks. And so,
Yep.
yeah, you know, but yeah, it's definitely bush league. But you know, like I said, I'm not a good loser.
Would you rather lose aces pre-flop or win with 7 deuce and have to explain it for 10 minutes?
Oh, 7 deuce, AirPods in.
Do you explain it?
No.
See, I never explain. Like, even sometimes people see a bad play and they give me shit about it. Like last time, Muscles was giving me shit about a play, and I know it's the play is like exploitative. I went for a thin value on the river, and he wanted because I had queen no kicker, but I knew it was value, and I went for a thin value, and he kept giving me shit about it. I said, maybe Muscles, instead of giving me shit, maybe you should take notes because old school players wouldn't go for thin value, and he went off. Yeah, but I don't explain, and I make bad plays sometimes. I don't explain shit.
No. Like if somebody wants to talk to me about it on a break, and like they're earnestly coming to me and going like, "Hey, can you explain?" Like just wondering why you did what you did. I'm happy to explain it, and a lot of
Yeah.
times I'll go, "I was floating with plans of doing something on a later street, and I got lucky. That's what happened. Sorry." Like I was going to bluff you, and maybe you would have called me, but it's what I was talking about. What pisses me off when other players do it. I actually backed into a hand and I won. So showdown value. I have no need to bluff at this point. My bad.
The worst is at showdown when people back into a value hand and it's showdown and they have like a sorry face. They give the other player like they're sorry that, like, why the theatrics? You're sorry because you won the hand. That's the whole point of the game. We're trying to take each other's chips. Don't act like you're sorry because it's fake. It's not. It's not sincere.
Listen, Carl, I've had this conversation with so many people. I fundamentally disagree with that. I do think a lot of people probably are faking. Like in the hand that we talked about, you and I played. Like
Yeah.
had I convinced myself, to put 60% of my chips at risk, one table off the bubble, and spiked an 8, and sent you home, I find myself apologizing in those spots, and I can't make myself stop doing it, even though I know it pisses some people off. But it's because I've felt that pain so many times that I legitimately feel bad for them. I'm
Okay,
still
so
happy I have the chips. Like, give me the
in
chips
your
all day.
in your case, it's sincere, but most people are not. They're not sincere.
Yeah,
Like, and
maybe.
you can tell, like they're raking the chips and they're like feeling sorry. But I mean,
That's the
I
game.
don't know. Yes, yes, of course. What's the most poker lie people tell themselves?
Variance for a lot of people. For some people, it's just true, right? Like you're going to go on downswings. You're going to win 3 tournaments in one series when you're not even remotely the best player in the room. Like those things happen. But I think a lot of people blame really poor play on variance. And then also like, what was I supposed to do?
What was I supposed to do? And the hand will be a complete torch.
Oh yeah.
Beginning to end.
Yep.
If your poker game had a warning label, what would it say?
Kill me sooner rather than later. I mean,
Or don't try this at home?
yeah, maybe. I mean, I think my confidence level at final tables has gone up so much over the past 2 years. And a lot of it, speaking of Chris, a lot of it started with Chris telling me that I made a massive mistake at a 700 final table. I'd never studied any ICM, and I punted. Chris Gaskin.
Gaskin, okay.
And in my head, I was like, "There's no way he's right." I think I disagreed with him, and I went and I looked the spot, and he was absolutely right. And so
Let's see the spot.
I don't. I'm so bad at remembering hands, Carl, but I know I opened early position with pocket tens. Again, I'm like probably third in chips going to this final table with like 40K up top or something. Maybe not that much, 30K. So one of those 700 multi like they'd have 2-day ones. They used to run those every now and then at the Hard Rock. And open tens early position and call off. And he was just like, it's just one, like maybe not even an open, and two, definitely not a call. And I was like, what? It's tens. It's number 4. What are we talking about? No, number 5. What are we talking about? Like, but I looked it up, and like as long as the other players are following ICM at least somewhat, and they're tightening their ranges appropriately, he's absolutely right. Like it's probably a fold pre-flop, or if
So he
anything,
said it's not even an open.
I can't remember if he said it's not an open or if it's just an open fold. It's probably just an open fold if I had to guess.
So you open and somebody shoved?
Someone jams, I call off, and
They covered?
They cover, yeah.
How many shorter stacks are there at the
Like
table?
4 or 5, like an absolute.
Okay, yeah, of course it's the ICM suicide. Yeah.
Yeah. ICM suicide. I committed ICM suicide on multiple occasions for during 2023. I started looking into some ICM stuff after that conversation and just going like, man, I really need to study this because all the money is at the top. And so it doesn't matter how many final tables you make. If you don't finish first, second, or third with some level of regularity, you're never going to make money in this game. And so I've tightened that up, and I think that I've been proud of my final table play for a couple of years now. I think you'll see a lot more first, second, and thirds than you'll see sevens, eights, and ninths if you scroll through my Hendon mob.
Yeah.
And a lot of that just has to do with I'm just not making those huge mistakes anymore.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it too. Finishing seventh and eighth is the worst. Making the final table and not, finishing at the podium, top 3.
Well, and sometimes you're limping into the final table, right? And you're short, you've got no ICM pressure, you got license to punt. Like for me, that's how I see that. If I'm coming to the final table ninth, I've got some bluff jams, a lot of them, simply because I don't have pressure. Like I'm supposed to finish ninth.
That's the beauty of tournaments, is knowing how to switch gears, how to abuse the bubble, how to go to get a stack when down to 2 tables so you can make the final table with a big stack to give you a chance to win. Most people tighten up so much and they let their stack go under 6 and 7 big blinds. It doesn't, yes, they'll cash, but and the money jumps won't be significant at that point. So what are you laddering, like 2 or 3 spots to make like a couple $100 more? Try to get a stack to go at least with 30-40 bigs to the final table to win. So you got to know how to switch gears. Some people just knit it up so much and they start only playing like premium hands, and hands don't come that often in a tournament. The stack gets under a certain threshold. They don't have any fold equity, and somebody, they go all in, somebody call them light, and they're out of the tournament.
For sure.
What's the poker equivalent of texting your ex at 2 a.m.? Yikes.
Shout out Marissa, my wife, my first serious girlfriend, who I'm still married to. So I don't really have an ex.
You've never experienced the texting an ex at 2 a.m.
No, not at all. But I'm assuming the idea there is it's never a good idea, right?
Yeah. Of course, it's a punt.
I would say calling a recreational's River Rays light is just always texting your ex at 2 a.m. It's never a good idea. They just always have it. Just fold. You find the one bluff out of 100. Yeah, if you call 100 times, you're losing infinite to find the one bluff. Yeah, just fold.
What's the biggest ego trap in poker? And we have one more question after that, and we wrap up. The biggest ego trap in poker.
It's funny because someone in the chat earlier said the bread and butter is becoming the table cap, and I actually think that's one of the biggest ego traps in poker because, if I've got a maniac in my table, they're pretty dangerous for me because they're going to draw me in to wanting to like show them who the boss is. And if you do that with enough regularity, you're gonna bust tournaments, because guess what? Maniac makes hands. And so for me, trying to force being the table captain is a huge ego trap that I try and avoid, because I do want to be. I want to be the guy at most tables, and there are tables I sit down at that I'm like, okay, I'm the sixth best player here. But at most tables, I sit down and I think, okay, I'm either the best player or the second best player here. And in those situations, I want things running through me. But if they're not, if there's someone there that's got you just massively covered and they're running captain, like, you just got to let them do that sometimes, especially at certain stages of the tournament, and just catch their punts. Like, it's that simple. Don't fall into the trap of trying to, four bet bluff the psychopath that's over three betting, because there are times for it, and there are certain hand classes that make a lot of sense, but sometimes they're just three betting you with the stones, and you're just out of the tournament because you got into an ego battle with somebody else at the table.
Table captains, or the people that are playing way too many hands to build stacks, yes, they might win it one tournament out of like 20 or 30. So the times they run deep, they win a tournament. But because they're playing so many hands, they're gonna make so many mistakes and bust a lot of the times. A person that comes to mind, shout out to Jerry. He's tough post flop, Jerry Silva. He's gonna put you in spots. Exploitatively, he's really good. He knows how to build stacks, but he knows how to destroy them too quickly. He's the typical table captain. Any table he's at, he's gonna be table captain. Once he gets a stack, that's it. The Jerry's like gonna fire a lot, but he doesn't know how to preserve a stack. If he knows how to hone, if he knows how to like calibrate this a little bit, he'll be like unstoppable. He'll be
Yeah.
winning left and right. Um, if your poker brain had a nickname, what would it be during a downswing?
Payoff king.
Mush, I'm gonna say for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, when you're on a downswing, you're driving to the casino or to the venue. In your mind, you know you're not gonna last long. So you're thinking
Yeah.
about what's the plan after the tournament. It's insane. But when you're running good, you're going there expecting to win, and like good things happen. It's insane how that works.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. For me, it's what I said earlier. If I'm on a downswing, it's much harder for me to just make appropriate folds. I'll just turn into an absolute station. And a lot of people that I've called off light correctly are probably going to think you're still a station. That's fine. One of the guys that we've talked about in the stream, I reached out to. I called him off really light, and he posted on his story about me. I didn't name him by name.
Chris?
Chris, yeah.
I
And
like
I
his
told him,
story. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, he talks about his progress in the tournament.
yeah, I like it a lot. I've always watched him when he posts them. But I told him exactly what the tell was that made me call. And people go, "Why would you do that?" I don't care. Like, I like Chris. I want Chris to do well. Like, for me,
Uh,
it's a zero-sum game, sure, but there's enough really, really, really bad players that I don't. One decent player or good player getting better is not going to, like, in the long run, really kill my EV. So, for people I like, if they're like, "Hey, what the hell was that? You just stationed off against me." I'm like, it wasn't personal. I looked at you and saw something, and here's what I saw, and it made me realize you were freaking out, and so I called, and I was right.
and I had an older gentleman to my left, and the little slick. I got so much on his nerves. I had to buy him a beer afterwards because I don't want the person to my left to be angry because now they're playing emotional and they're doing stuff that's. But I took him to school in two or three hands. I started texting who I was texting at the table. I was texting Jack Feeney, Doc. I was like, Doc, this guy is losing his mind, and I capitalize on it. I know, so I started pre-betting him more because if you get under somebody's skin, now you can exploit them so much
For
because they're
sure.
gonna call you later. You shouldn't bluff them that much because now it's personal. I mean, the guy was like looking at, like he's sitting. I'm in seat 5 and he's in seat 6. He's 7 in the corner. He's like looking at me the whole time, and I can see, I can feel the energy because couple hands I got out of line. I bluffed like 2 streets and I bink an ace on the river. I had like ace 5 on a king queen board and ace on the river. I went for thin value and he calls and he lost it. He lost. He didn't say anything, but you can tell. And finally, I made friends with him. Actually, this was day 1. I bought him a beer right before bagging. I'm like, let me be friends with this guy. I don't want him to do anything. Yeah, but Josh, thank you so much for coming on the pod. I'm gonna have Chris Gaskin come on. You can co-host it if you want because you guys
sure.
talk stuff.
Yeah, let me know. I love Chris. Chris is a good guy. And we both live over here in Polk County, so we've got that together.
Viral. Every time I post a picture of him, a lot of comments. The girls go
Yeah.
crazy. So I got to get him on the podcast, maybe for the views and clicks.
Yeah, let's do it.
I call him Yo Viral at TGT.
Yeah, no, Chris, I think he was a dealer at one point too, and like everybody loves Chris.
He dealt at Hard Rock. Yeah, all the dealers. Yeah, I love him at Hard Rock for sure.
Yeah.
Josh, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Watch out for some reels. I'm going to start bumping it out on the socials.
Sweet.
See you at the table.
All right, brother. See you there.
See ya. Bye-bye.